Clark and Stephen Curry, the least shocking, somewhat, what seems like it's going to be a collaboration in history. If we're being completely honest, the least shocking one we have ever seen, because this is Caitlin effing Clark we're talking about. This is Caitlin Clark. This is somebody who we know has been compared to Stephen Curry. I don't see the comparisons really. I think Caitlin Clark.
The most overlooked detail in this entire situation is how NBA players have already embraced Caitlin Clark's shoe. Not through endorsement deals, not through marketing mandates, but by choice. NBA players have access to virtually any footwear they want. When they choose a shoe, it is because it performs. The fact that players are wearing Clark's shoe over their own signature models is unprecedented. It signals quality, trust, and cultural acceptance. This changes everything. If Nike were to position Curry in customized versions of Clark's shoe for a season or two, the narrative writes itself. The greatest shooter of one era supporting the greatest shooter of the next. That is not marketing fluff. That is legacy storytelling. The benefits compound immediately. Clark's shoe gains NBA visibility. Curry's final seasons gain a symbolic bridge to the future. Nike maintains continuity while preparing Curry's long-term signature line. Most importantly, the story feels authentic. Audiences reject forced narratives. They embrace organic ones. This story already exists. It does not need invention, only alignment. And alignment is exactly what Nike excels at when it is operating at its best.
On the logo, I will say this, where it's like, it is mad that the logo 3 is now considered Caitlin range. Like, we obviously had Curry range. More so than anything, we had Jimmer range. If we're being real, more so than ever, we had Jimmer range with that. As much as the Steph Curry range was a big thing, Jimmer range was, for me, Jimmer range was the phenomenon. That was the absolute phenomenon, was Jimmer range. Because
some people argue that Caitlin Clark should eventually leave Nike and join Curry brand. From a basketball perspective, that sounds logical. From a business perspective, it makes far less sense. Caitlin Clark's infrastructure at Nike already exists. Her shoe line is active. Marketing channels are established. Distribution is global. Consumer awareness is growing rapidly. Leaving that ecosystem would introduce friction, delay, and unnecessary risk. The truly seamless move is the opposite. Stephen Curry stepping into Caitlin Clark's existing ecosystem, even temporarily, requires minimal disruption. It allows Nike to maintain momentum while building Curry's future product line properly. It preserves brand coherence. It avoids rushed launches and diluted storytelling. This is how smart companies manage transitions. They do not blow things up. They overlap phases. 2 years, minimal noise, maximum value. That is not coincidence. That is strategy. And when people eventually look back on this moment, they will realize they were not watching a casual crossover. They were watching the early stages of one of the cleanest legacy transitions modern basketball has ever seen.
He might be retired before he gets that real signature shoe. So it's going to have to be a carry-on of the Curry brand, and a long-term thing, which kind of is awkward when he's 37 years old. But at the end of the day, when it comes to it, you've got you've now got a player in Caitlin Clark who, you know what, maybe Nike could convince Caitlin to be like, you know what, maybe a couple of Caitlin Clark collabs with Curry brand. So, you know, Steph's gonna wear the Caitlin shoe while he plays. It's like, we're not gonna get Steph's got 2 years left in him. We're not gonna get a signature shoe out in time. But
to understand why this moment matters, you have to look at the business timeline. Stephen Curry is 37 years old. Realistically, he has 2 elite NBA seasons left. His partnership with Under Armour defined an era, but that chapter has closed. Curry brand now operates within Nike's ecosystem. On paper, that sounds simple. In practice, it creates a massive problem. Nike cannot instantly produce a full signature shoe line for Curry. Footwear development takes years. Design cycles, testing, athlete feedback, manufacturing commitments, and global distribution are all planned far in advance. Rushing a signature product for a player of Curry's stature would risk quality, credibility, and legacy. But Nike also cannot afford to waste Curry's final prime years. Those seasons represent peak storytelling value. They are the last chapters of a Hall of Fame career. They matter emotionally and financially. Doing nothing during that window would be an enormous missed opportunity. That is where Caitlin Clark's existing signature shoe becomes critical. Her shoe is already developed, already manufactured, already in stores, already selling. It is a proven product, not a concept. From a business standpoint, it is a ready-made platform. In corporate terms, this is called leveraging an existing asset to bridge a transition period. Instead of rushing a new Curry product, Nike can align Curry with a shoe that already fits the brand's future direction. That future includes women's basketball, younger audiences, and cross-league influence. This is not about replacing Curry. It is about extending his impact without disrupting the pipeline. For Curry, the arrangement preserves performance, comfort, and relevance. For Caitlin Clark, it provides validation at the highest possible level. For Nike, it solves a timing problem while strengthening two brand pillars at once. This is not charity. It is optimization. Elite brands do not make emotional decisions. They make decisions that maximize value across overlapping timelines. Curry's legacy timeline and Clark's growth timeline happen to intersect perfectly. That intersection is not accidental.
Some Curry brand Caitlin shoes. And we're going to sell the custom Curry brand Caitlin, and the next year, Steph's going to, in his final year, get his one signature shoe with Nike. And we're going to go and push that. Like, something like that could be happening. And that would make sense from a Nike perspective, because they already have the Caitlin shoes. It's seamless. As much as we say it's seamless from it's seamless with, it would have been seamless, with Caitlin going to Curry brand. It's also seamless with Curry going to Caitlin's. A Caitlin shoe is there. If he's going to play in a shoe and have a Curry brand PEs of a shoe that are for sale as the first first launch of Curry brand under Nike, like, it would make sense if it is Caitlin.
Stephen Curry is seen shooting from a logo while wearing Caitlin Clark's signature shoes. His trainer posts the clip. Caitlin Clark reposts it. To many people, this looks like a harmless moment of mutual respect. A cool crossover. A viral basketball clip. But Caitlin Clark does not post basketball content randomly. Her social media presence is controlled, intentional, and highly selective. She does not repost every compliment, every tag, or every celebrity mention. Especially when it comes to business-related assets like footwear, branding, and endorsements, her activity is measured. Every public amplification serves a purpose. That is why this moment matters. Stephen Curry is not just any player. He is one of the most influential athlete brands of the last 20 years. When he wears a shoe that does not carry his own name, people notice. When that shoe belongs to Caitlin Clark, the message becomes even louder. This is not about comfort or coincidence. It is about optics. The trainer's post is equally important. Trainers do not accidentally create narratives around footwear. Their job is to protect performance and perception. By highlighting Curry's shooting in Clark shoes, the post reframes the shoe itself. It is no longer just a WNBA signature product. It becomes validated at the highest level of men's basketball. Caitlin's repost then completes the loop. She is not forcing a story. She is confirming one. By amplifying the moment without commentary, she allows audiences to draw their own conclusions. That is a powerful marketing technique because it creates curiosity instead of resistance. Consumers trust what they believe, they discover themselves. This is how modern athlete branding works at the elite level. It is subtle, not loud. It relies on implication rather than declaration. There is also a timing element that cannot be ignored. This did not happen during the off-season lull with no attention. It happened during a period when both players are central to ongoing basketball conversations. That matters. Visibility compounds when attention is already high. People often underestimate how much planning goes into moments that appear organic. In reality, the most effective brand signals are the ones that do not feel like advertisements. They feel like culture. This clip was not designed to sell immediately. It was designed to position, to normalize, to plant an idea. And once an idea is normalized, especially by someone like Stephen Curry, it no longer needs explanation. It simply becomes accepted. That is the real power of this moment.
I have a feeling like Steph Curry, all these posts by the trainer, by Curry's trainer, he's not dumb. Steph's smart with all this stuff, and Caitlin's incredibly smart when it comes to some of the marketing. I just think she signed the worst shoe deal ever. But like, again, she signed it when she was in college. It was the highest shoe deal at the time. At the end of the day, people have to sign bad shoe deals. Like, if you're in early, you never get paid. You never, ever, ever get paid if you're in something early. If you're in something early and you're able to stick with it while ride it out and stick with it while things are going well, you're going to get paid. However, if you're not going to stick with it, then
at first glance, people are calling it the least surprising collaboration imaginable. Caitlin Clark and Stephen Curry, two generational shooters. Two players who changed how far acceptable shooting range extends. Two stars who symbolize their respective leagues. On the surface, it feels inevitable, almost boring. Of course, they would be associated with each other. Of course, brands would lean into that comparison. Of course, fans would enjoy it. But that surface-level interpretation completely misses what is actually happening. This moment is not just about shared shooting ability or mutual admiration. It is not a casual marketing overlap. It is a strategic intersection of timing, legacy, and business leverage. And the reason it feels obvious is precisely because the most calculated moves in sports branding are designed to feel natural. Caitlin Clark is not simply a rising basketball star. She is a market-moving asset. She has fundamentally altered the visibility, engagement, and commercial value of women's basketball in a way that no single player ever has before. Stephen Curry already completed that arc in the men's game. He didn't just win championships. He reshaped how the sport is played, consumed, and sold. When two figures like that begin to orbit each other publicly, it is never accidental. History shows that moments like this are rarely understood in real time. They are only properly interpreted in hindsight, when people realize they were watching the early stages of a generational handoff. Curry represents the closing chapters of one era. Clark represents the explosive opening of another. Smart brands do not treat those moments separately. They connect them. This is not about comparisons. It is about continuity. Brands, leagues, and sponsors are constantly searching for ways to transition audience loyalty without losing momentum. That is incredibly difficult to do. Fans do not naturally transfer emotional attachment from one star to another. But when that transition is framed as respect, alignment, and shared philosophy, it becomes organic. That is what makes this moment significant. Nothing about this overlap screams announcement. There is no press release, no forced campaign, no artificial storyline. It simply exists, visible enough to be noticed, subtle enough to feel authentic. That is exactly how high-level sports branding operates. If this were just about basketball, it would end there. But it isn't. This is about legacy management, market positioning, and preparing for what comes next. And the fact that it looks obvious is not proof that it is shallow. It is proof that it was planned well.